Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from the Questrom School of Business. My name is David Frew. I am the Assistant Dean for Development and Alumni Relations. I'm excited to welcome you to the first in a four-part series, Conversations with the Dean. As we now hit our 350 plus day of not being able to travel around the world to see our alumni, we're trying to adapt to the Zoom technology to bring Questrom to you. So I'm excited to share that nearly 200 alumni have signed up for today's event from 27 different states, 15 different countries, spanning 15 time zones, and representing 7 decades of Questrom School of Business graduates. We do have closed captioning available. At the bottom of your screen, there should be a tab within the Zoom feature that allows you to select closed captioning. You are also prompted that we will be recording this event. And our final request is that you place your questions in the Q&A and not the chat feature. And as we get to the end of our presentation, we'll have an opportunity to answer questions for Dean Fournier. So now what I'd like to do is turn the presentation over to Allen Questrom Professor and Dean Susan Fournier. Dean Fournier is in her 3rd year as Dean, in her 16th year on faculty at the Questrom School of Business. Coming from the marketing department, Susan's background and expertise is in brands and marketing. Many in the room have had her in the classroom, and we're grateful for her leadership. So Dean Fournier, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Dave, and thank you. It's always interesting for me to hear how many years I've been here, especially in these times of COVID where it feels like dog years. Every year is worth at least 7. I want to say thank you and express my deep appreciation for everyone in the room participating today. One of the silver linings in the COVID experience is that we do have a bigger and deeper embrace of technology such as this to engage more people around the globe and to increase our scope and scale. And this is a really wonderful opportunity for me to get to know you, and particularly for you to get to know us a little deeper. And please accept this as an open invitation to carry on the dialogue in other forums with me personally or with others at the school. I also want to just say thank you. I'm kind of watching people filter in. We have some amazing folks from the alumni group that serve and support our school. And I want to say thank you to the members of our board, to the members of our advisory council, and also to Allen Questrom, who has the generosity and foresight to have named our school and provided support for us. So thank you so much. As I mentioned, as Dave mentioned, we will be engaging this in the first of 4-part series in this academic year. The next deep dive into the online MBA will be in a month. And then we will elicit some feedback today for other topics. We have some ideas, but we'd also like to hear from you. So this is an opportunity. I'm going to try to do a little bit of a blitzkrieg. We have an hour together. I want to just let you know where we are and how we got here, but I also want to give you a few highlights about what is going on and giving us energy and excitement at the school. So just, year in review, we all know what the theme is. If we could go to the next slide. The theme was COVID, unfortunately. And this tested all of us. All of you there on this call are working in organizations yourselves, in leadership positions, and you know that this was the year where we had to talk about organizational change. We had to plan amid great uncertainty. We had to make decisions based on a limited amount of data, and we had to pivot on a weekly, daily, and sometimes hourly basis. Just to kind of put us back, it's been over a year at this point that we've started to be in this boat. Almost to the day a year ago, we started discussing that there was this thing that was popping up around the planet, and that it was particularly concerning. And in mid-March, BU decided that we were going to be in remote. And then by 6 days after that, they basically said, okay, we're remote for the whole term. We sent staff home. We began remote classes. We had to make a major transition the scale and scope of which were tremendous. Throughout even the first several months that took us to the end of that term, there was a lot going on at the state level, at the CDC guidance level, just so many decisions to be made, and feeling our way around it was the norm. If we go to the next slide, you can just, kind of put yourself back in that seat. There were 178 faculty members that were in the classroom when we sent everyone home. They were teaching almost 400 sections. They were covering 14,000 students. And all of a sudden, boom, we had to be teaching. And what we chose was a Zoom platform, along with a lot of other folks. We had to pivot everything without losing a beat. That meant pivoting not just our classrooms, but all of the co-curricular and support services that we had, and looking forward, pivoting the future of the school. How are we handling open houses? How are we registering support for the students that we have? So it was just the scale and scope of this problem was tremendous. I will fast forward to the punchline, we've been incredibly successful. Next slide, please. One big piece to our success is that in the midst of the spring of 2020, we decided that we were going to adopt a learn from anywhere model. This became our brand, LFA. And the essence of this distinguishes us from a lot of our peer competitors who have yet to return. We said students will choose. We said students will choose if they want to be in class, on campus, or whether they would prefer to be remote, or whether they, for other reasons, couldn't be anywhere but remote. And our commitment became that we would be here in the classroom for them. What that meant then was a complexity of solutions, because we were going to be simultaneously teaching remote and in-person students. We weren't going to do what some of our competitors did, which is just record everything. And then if you were in Thailand or mainland China, that you could access a recorded lecture. We were going to let you simultaneously be part of that classroom. So we had to jump in with faculty training to help them get up to speed. We had to build a lot of infrastructure. We are forever indebted to our IT group under the leadership of Greg DeFranzo, and all the faculty who had to redesign what they were doing in terms of how they were teaching and what they were teaching for this simultaneous remote model. BU also had a major heavy lift and really responded incredibly. They equipped our teaching spaces to handle safely students in these technological aided capacities. We then kind of added on to their model, because a lot of what we do is to teach by the case method, and that required a lot more than what some were doing in, say, the College of Arts and Sciences. The university also created a moderator system, bringing on board 1,400 people to serve as assistants and moderators in the classroom, to help the faculty negotiate that they had some students in the class, some students in Boston in their dorm rooms, maybe even, or apartments, and some students in various time zones. So there were many millions of dollars that went into this, including things like, upgrades to the HVAC, signage in the buildings, different ways we were going to get people up and down elevators. It was an all hands on deck and incredibly quick pivot. If you go to the next slide, you can just see a little bit of, what does this look like? You have the professor at the front, and they have a document camera that allows them to, quote unquote, write on the board. Questrom faculty love to write on the board. And the beauty here is then it gets captured for students. There's a huge screen. There's a remote screen that shows all the folks in their various remote locations. And there's a moderator who's kind of pulling it all together. So that's kind of what it looked like. If you go to the next slide, just to put more context on this, this LFA model Almost 80% of everything that we did was delivered in this LFA format when we approached the fall of 2020. There were some remote courses, and this varies a little bit by program because there were some faculty who had various health issues and were not able to come to campus. There were also some courses that we teach, such as the career skills training, that we decided could safely, for the benefit of all of us, migrate to online because the pedagogy seemed to be able to be managed well in a remote format. But pretty much 8 out of 10 of every course we did continued to be taught here. We're still in LFA model or mode here in spring 2021. I will acknowledge for all of us that attendance of students, which started out as almost 50-50, it has been declining. We have the effect of a winter, kind of cold and people loving to stay at home, to be quite honest. So we have seen declines, and we do see declines as well in certain programs over others. For example, our part-time MBA, the students who are working 8 to 10 hours a day and then coming into campus, that's where we see some low attendance, or in our math finance program, for example, where the majority of the students are from international environments. But that's kind of what we look like. Our student service model is also bimodal, if you will. We are in person and we are remote. So on any given day, there are people in all of our offices, and we've benefited because we've extended coverage. We were working from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. so that we could cover people who were in other environments that were off the Eastern Standard Time Zone. Everything remains open. We have incredible safety protocols, and all of our events, though, did pivot because of state and local guidelines that we had to manage capacities for indoor gatherings. So a lot of work going on to combat Zoom fatigue, to engage people, to maintain community, both not just among students, but to be frank, among our staff and our faculty as well. That remains a challenge. On the student side, if we could go back to that slide for 1 second prior, just on the student side, I will mention a couple of highlights. We do still have some hits, if you will, on the international side. A lot of international students were here and they remained here, but others have been constrained by travel and visa restrictions. But even amid all this, we didn't see a lot of deferrals. We didn't see a lot of people saying, you know what, I'm going to go out for a year. And we did lose some enrollments, but honestly, we are incredibly thankful. We saw 100 students affected by pulling out in their enrollment, and that is an amazing, I think, testament to the quality of what we're doing. Next slide, please. Another thing that we did as a university with the help of everyone at every school, and this is a Bob Brown legacy for sure, we mounted what is probably, honestly, the best testing, tracing, quarantining, isolating protocol in the industry. And I'm stating that in the extreme, and I believe it at my heart. We built testing facilities, we staffed those, we have testing locations, 5 or 6 or 7 of them scattered across campus. They're open from 7 in the morning till 8 p.m. at night. All of our students get tested twice a week. All of our teaching faculty get tested once or twice a week. You have daily health screenings, which you're probably familiar with. And there's an incredible set of oversight and governance committees that kick into play if there are any positive cases. We've done 700,000+ tests among our community of roughly 20,000 since July. And a lot of this is captured on what we call the Healthway dashboard. And so I want to show you that on the next slide. This is something that's publicly available that honestly, I think you should follow. If you look cumulative on the right-hand side, at this moment, among those 700,000 tests, we are 99.8% negative. 99.8% negative. When I went home for the holidays, I felt less safe than I have in a year, because here at Questrom, it's amazing. We are a bubble inside a major metropolitan area. And those numbers, I think, are just outstanding. And if we find cases, we have curtailed their spread. But honestly, the number of in-class transmissions, I don't have an exact number, but it is so low that, that you would just be amazed. The cases that we've seen are from people coming in, faculty and staff, who've been out and about, not by transmission within the community. You'll see on the left, you know, on the Healthway dashboard, you can see positive test results over time plotted and with the case numbers. And you can see that we have these predictable spikes around holidays and when people come back to the community. But you can also see what is mirroring a national trend right now, where we're really, really on the decline again, in a nice trend downward. We remain, we remain responsible for a lot of the testing that occurs in Massachusetts. I think we're almost 10% of all the tests that take place all the time. But we are far safer again versus our local or state community. So this is just something of tremendous quality, and you know, we couldn't do it without it. So thank you, Bob Brown. All right, next slide, please. Now, COVID hits, and did we take hits? You bet we did. We saw revenues go down and costs go up, and that's just not a wonderful scenario. Just some of the revenues down, you know, student abroad, study abroad had to be canceled. We also had to bring the people that were in study abroad home, but we haven't resumed study abroad. We can't. We saw fewer students in our housing, and you know that room and board is a big piece of what it costs to attend college. We had a revenue shortfall that is not insignificant. And at the same time, we built this lab, $70 million. We upgraded our facilities. We upgraded HVAC. We made every building safe. We transitioned everyone to LFA. We invested in technology, moderators, and so on. And we also had an increase in student aid because the COVID crisis comes with an economic recessionary period, and we are committed as a university to meeting full need. You know, where that all got us is in some harrowing situations over the last summer. We had to make pretty significant cuts to our base operating budgets and discretionary budgets. And then we effected some higher level cost controls as a university as well. There's been a hiring freeze. We can't bring staff on campus, and sometimes those freezes have hit us hard, where we haven't been able to replace people who have left us. BU also curtailed contributions, as did many, many, many schools. The BU side contribution to retirement, which hits everyone in their pocket, and leadership also took voluntary salary cuts. So this kind of all added up to a point where we had a very manageable deficit in our budget that we felt very good about. So very painful, but we managed our way through it. Next slide, please. So now, as all the pain was being experienced by us, students too were being affected by these crises. We launched an effort. We called it the Emergent Student Needs Fund. We had calls out to alumni. You may have recently seen a video by me, as well as an email. So we are accepting gifts to help support our students. This is for various kinds of hardships financially associated with COVID or the economic downturn. We covered a few hundred students with these funds in the fall, and we are in the midst, as I mentioned, of another campaign. to support, and we have a lot of ongoing applications. So thank you to everyone who's been contributing, and thank you for considering, to those of you who may not have been aware. Next slide, please. You know, good side of COVID, in addition to some of the things I've mentioned about everyone just coming together and supporting each other. This is a map of the student locations that we were broadcasting Learn from Anywhere from as we proceeded through spring 2020, and it remains pretty much the same right now. So we haven't dropped off. We have kept people in the community, and we're everywhere. We're all over the place. Next slide, please. You know, here's another pride point. So here we are, we have to pivot online, we have to train faculty, we have to redo our courses, we have to manage the stresses and strains. And what you see here is that the quality of our courses and the faculty ratings that people get for teaching those courses, both in terms of individual instructors and in terms of the learning from the course, has remained intact. The predictions from a lot of folks were that these things would deteriorate and that we would not be able to create a quality experience. Quite frankly, we see slight improvements with the dedication and effort and addition of flexibility and innovation and other ways to engage students. I will mention those changes of 0.03, 0.01, 0.05. They're not statistically significant, but they're wonderful to see in any sense. So because of the efforts of our faculty, because of the support of our IT groups, we maintained quality and we did not lose anything. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's COVID. We continue to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. So let me give you some other highlights about what's going on at the school. Always looking toward the future and looking optimistically at the light at the end of the tunnel, in particular with the vaccines in distribution and all manner of public health safety advances, positive signs related to visa applications and visa and travel. So big picture, BU undergrad applications are up 24%. Now this is a high water mark that we've never seen before. There are in the major top schools, they are pretty much all seeing increases over last year, perhaps from pent-up demand from last year and whatnot. The smaller schools and a lot of mid-tier schools are not seeing this. So this isn't an increase for everyone, but BU is up, and BU is looking amazingly good in its upness because we are seeing record high school GPAs, SAT scores for those who have submitted them because we're optional on that front. The diversity of the applicant pool, the quality of the courses that people have taken in their high school careers. Quality by all metrics is up. Now at Questrom, we have 50% again benefits over that. We're up 36% to another high water mark for us. And, this is maybe a reflection of, the evergreen nature of a career in business. In a tough economy with an increased flashlight on what kind of jobs are you going to get after this investment, business remains at the top as a draw for students to come to BU overall. So we are up 36%. What that is going to mean is that we can recruit, because we're space constrained. We have so many dorm rooms and just the ability to have so many people in our classrooms. What this will translate into is a more diverse class and also a more higher quality class, more selectivity, if you will, our ability to be highly selective as to who we bring in because we do have almost 11,000 applications. The other thing that's up, there's this notion of early decision that some of you might be aware of. Early decision is it's a pre-commitment. There are 3,400 schools in this country, but I really would like to attend yours. You're my first choice. And there's an implicit contract that if I were to be accepted, I will come. So it reduces risk on students' part, but also on the university's part. And our early decision applicants with BU identified as the first choice are up over 10% at 13%. The other domains in which we compete, we have an MBA program that is fundamentally important to our program portfolio. It has a full-time MBA, a part-time MBA, a social impact MBA, a health sector MBA. Right now, we also have an executive MBA. Those applicants are also up. And that's after a nationwide 5-year decline in applicants to the MBA. MBA tends to be very counter-cyclical with the economy. When the economy is good, no one wants to leave their jobs. And when the economy is bad, people apply. So there is a breaking of the trend, and we grew so much for this year that we added a third cohort. We've been operating at a 2-cohort model. So we really have grown, and the applications for the fall of 21 are looking very, very strong. Okay, next, please. Faculty hiring has been great. We have been hiring at super good schools. We've been hiring in focus areas. We have the beauty of being able to attract associate professors and full professors through the gifts of endowed chairs. We're hiring at top-notch schools to serve our strategic needs. Next slide, please. Our research reputation has been going up. Even if you add in some of the schools who declined to participate in the Financial Times this year ranking, we're top 30. And that is tremendously different than just 3 years ago. We are on a roll and kind of unstoppable. Every faculty member that we hire is better than the last. Another highlight on the next slide, please. We launched AMBA. AMBA is the online MBA. It's in partnership with edX. It is an affordable price at $24,000. It has a unique design. And in the midst of the pandemic, we designed a radically innovative online degree and launched it in August. We can talk about that in much more detail in a subsequent Dean's conversation. But if you look at the next slide, you can see one reason why we're so excited about this. We got an amazing amount of press from this with a $1.8 million worth of free advertising, if you will. A lot of media pickup, a lot of conversations helping to build our brand. And on the next slide, we can see the fruits of our labors. We've admitted 2 cohorts at this point, 389 in round 1. And you can see the companies that these folks are coming from. And you can see the average years of work experience of these folks and their average age. This is one of our most elite alumni, future alumni coming in. The first class being very seasoned mid-career professionals picking up a credential for the MBA. Next slide. We continue on a roll. The second cohort was accepted. We're at 400 or so for that. Similar profile of fabulous, fabulous employers and work experience and average age. This is the segment of the future. Okay, next slide, please. Another area of tremendous momentum, we launched in December something called Insights at Questrom. It's a digital hub that serves to integrate and consolidate and curate and disseminate content about relevant business challenges and thought-provoking ideas in the business functions. There's a lot that happens on this hub, from articles and podcasts and videos and live events and opinion pieces and blogs, for us to encourage you to join as a subscriber. Next slide, please, is an example of just what's been going on in here. We have 4,000 subscribers that we're reaching now. Alumni and friends joining us for thought leadership. The statistics for attendance in the number of live events we've been able to manage in the short 2-month window. Some recent activities, this week, digital transformation in healthcare, a 7-part series, and also the conversations around GameStop, which continue to excite. With yesterday's news, for example, that State Street took a hit in its ETF. The Reddit crowd and Robinhood continue to change us. So these are great events. We encourage you again to use this URL to sign up so that you can be aware of this. Next slide, please. We have momentum in our programs as well. We also introduced an analytics degree. We have roughly 100 students from around the globe in that. We have also undertaken efforts to expand the reach of Questrom at BU to those who are not formally enrolled as Questrom students, to bring business acumen and knowledge to the broader environment. So there's a new minor in innovation and entrepreneurship that we lead, and we've also revamped our own minor to attract more students. In the undergrad program, we're really doubling down to improve analytics. We have some fintech offerings, and we have been growing social impact through such course offerings, for example, as sustainable finance, green bonds, and other kinds of things. A lot of momentum in our programs. Next slide, please. This is something we can talk about at another meeting, but we have a lot going on. We look to the future always, even though we may be mired in crisis. These are some of the key priorities in Questrom right now that we're working on. I talked about online MBA. How does that evolve? We always need to hire faculty, but now that we've been hiring super faculty, we face a new challenge: how to keep them. They are getting poached or attempted to be poached. We are advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and strategies. We are rethinking what it means to be global business and taking advantage of our global footprint. We are developing an alumni engagement strategy. We are very focused to, over the next 5 years, work on our career outcomes to try to improve in this fundamental focus area. And at the same time, we are developing strategies to engage alumni, such as the event we have today, and to build our differentiation in areas of focus. We are a player that has to choose where to play. And we have made some steps to have programs and students and institutes and stakeholder events, executive ed, et cetera, in digital business, social impact, and the future of work. So the next slide, I want to just turn this over to one of our colleagues, because alumni are at the heart of a lot of what we do, particularly the career engagement strategy, where we need projects, we need connections, we need mentors, we need jobs, we need internships. So our leader in this space, Jeff Murphy, can take it away.
Thank you so much for having me, Dean Fournier. I'm glad to be here to have a chance to talk about some of the things you just mentioned in terms of career outcomes for our students. And I think BU Connects addresses that in a lot of ways. I'm going to go ahead and I want to show you something that I'm here to talk about today, BU Connects. And hopefully this is old news for many of you. I know we have one of our largest populations of folks that are on BU Connects are our Questrom alumni. I work centrally in the alumni relations team, and not out of what you might think of the Feld Center or the Center for Career Development, but central alumni relations, because more and more each year, our alumni are turning back to the university for a couple of things. And sometimes that's about helping them find a new job. They're ready to get that promotion. They're trying to make a career change. But very often it's because our alumni are having success. They're at a point in their careers where they want to give back and they want to help our students. They want to help other alumni. And as an alumni relations staffer, we recognize that giving our current students the opportunities to have meaningful learning experiences by connecting with our alumni is one of the most impactful experiences that we can help facilitate. And so to that end, we're very excited to introduce BU Connects. And put simply, it's our brand new mentoring and networking online platform for the entire BU community. The purpose of this platform is to put the power in the hands of our students and alumni to make those professional connections that can have a positive impact on somebody's career. This is the result of several years of planning involving many key Questrom alumni volunteers who also served on our BU Alumni Council. I see several of you here today. Thanks for all that you did in helping us get this ready. And it serves as a state-of-the-art replacement for something that you might all know that we used to have called the Career Advisory Network. When we flipped the switch from the Career Advisory Network to BU Connects, we had over 8,300 alumni from all schools and colleges around the world who said that they wanted to be helpful in some way. And I think BU Connects finally provides a platform that truly honors that gift of people's time and experience. There's a lot of good news about BU Connects. You'll see on the right-hand side here, 2,600 recent members. That's only going back, I think, about 3 months. As of last night, we ticked over 8,300 members for the entire platform, which is incredibly exciting for us. So my plan today is very briefly give you an overview of some of the key features of BU Connects. But I'll be honest with you, I think quite frankly, the best thing you could all do is sign up today and experience this on your own. I mentioned signing up. Some of you in our alumni population know that in order to have a private BU community, sometimes the resources we've made available to you online have been difficult to access. I can tell you, I think this is probably going to be the easiest experience you have to log into a BU community website. You can do so, certainly, if you still have your BU email and Kerberos password, you can log in today. You can create an account on BU Connects using any email. But the pro tip is to sign into BU Connects using your LinkedIn account information. That's going to allow you to bring things over from your LinkedIn profile and save time, and you can be up and running networking on BU Connects in minutes. So the key, the main experience of BU Connects is a customized newsfeed, much like you might find on another community. But this is showing me posts by other members based on the kinds of activities that I get involved in on the platform. On the right-hand side, some important announcements, information we want to make sure you know about, highlighting upcoming events. But then, there are some nuts and bolts about using the platform. We've got a great video guide that walks through each and every step of the platform and how you can use it. Certainly, we make some recommendations about what people should do once they join for the first time. Obviously, we want to make sure that this is a community that is beneficial to everybody. And so I want everybody to review the community guidelines. But the way that you navigate through the site is this menu on the left-hand side. And so I'm going to highlight some of these things now, but not all of them. The meat of the platform is the directory. And as I mentioned, we, so we're nearly at 8,300 members now. We're actually seeing about 100 new members joining this platform each day, which has been incredible. The thing I love the most about BU Connects is the way it makes it so easy to find members of our community who are willing to help. You see this flag right on people's platforms. And you can search for people to connect with on literally every field on their profile. And what I would encourage you all to do the first time you come into the platform is to expand these search filters on the right-hand side that show you all of the ways that you can try to make meaningful connections on BU Connects. Certainly, what you studied at the university will be of value. Probably more of value is the work that you're doing now. But if you're interested in catching up with some people from a student organization you used to be a part of, there's a ton of ways to connect with folks. Another distinguishing factor, and I think this is what really separates BU Connects. People might say this is just like LinkedIn. This is a much better way to find meaningful and valuable relationships. It's more of a warm call than a cold call. If you indicate on your profile that you're looking for a mentor or open to mentoring, the system is going to use our customized algorithm to make suggestions for you based on your BU experience and your work experience and aspirations. You can certainly search to find your own mentor. There is a great jobs feature here. We're pulling in information from BU jobs posting boards, but this is also an incredibly easy place. If you've got an open position or an internship at your company, please share that here, and you can do so within minutes. Groups is a really important feature of this. We currently have, I think, 36 industry, school and college, or other special interest networking groups. This allows us to have a platform within a platform. And to that end, I want to make sure you all know, by joining BU Connects, you're automatically going to be joining the Questrom network. This is a place just to network within the Questrom community and utilize all the same tools and features that are available at the platform level just within Questrom. So if you're really interested in helping some Questrom students, this is an awesome place to introduce yourself, post a job, attend events, those kinds of things. So again, I think one of the best things that you can do is just sign in and dive in and start navigating around the platform on your own. But again, there are video guides available that can walk you through all of this in more detail. I'm so excited about the way this is going, and I'm certainly thankful for the way that the Questrom community members, students and alumni and faculty have embraced BU Connects. And Dean Fournier, thank you again for giving me a chance to make sure that everybody knows about it.
Awesome, thank you. I think we'll turn it over to Dave to navigate some of our Q&As.
Sure. Jeff, thank you for that. You not only did you do an excellent job, you've already converted a couple leads. I think I saw that Maria Ballesteros Sola, who I think is in California, has already signed up and commented on how smooth and easy it was. So time well spent. Very well done. Thank you.
Fantastic.
So at this point, we're going to turn to the question and answers. Through the registration process, we allowed people to submit questions. A great number of you did. Others have contributed to the Q&A as well. So with the 17 minutes remaining, we won't be able to get to the 40 plus questions that we have, but I'll try and pick out a few that are topical. Susan, one question: how can alumni engage with and support current students, faculty, and administration beyond just giving dollars?
Boy, let me count the ways. So honestly, I mean, I see, Dave, you have your favorite quote behind you. If every alum could find one way to support every student, this would just get us so far with 53,000 alumni to play with. So I mentioned an initiative around careers, for example. We also had mention of the challenges in a global pandemic, for getting jobs, for just leaving our institution and finding employment. I also mentioned a major initiative to improve the career readiness of our students as an output of everything we do at Questrom. Your role as alumni in those activities is front, center, and central. So for example, we believe that we can teach, but it isn't until students put their hands dirty and apply what they're learning to real world problems that they really get it. So we have a philosophy of projects. We call it action-based learning, client-centered learning. We have some really big profile projects like the capstone in the undergrad or the MBA. We need alumni to connect us with their companies to get the data and the projects to do stuff like that. If, we know an undergrad or anyone that goes out of here, when they have a job interview, 90% of that job interview ends up being, tell me about that project. So getting projects. There's also a lot of support in the holistic realm of internships and jobs. And that can be opening your alumni, having our alumni open their networks to us so that we can establish relationships. It can be having them connect us with some folks that they may know are hiring so that we can provide evidence in support of the quality of our alumni. It can be volunteering time to help mentor students who are looking to break into consulting or something like this. It can be volunteering your time to do an Insights at Questrom event, which gets the word out, which just builds the brand of Questrom, which then brings people to Questrom and takes people from Questrom in the form of jobs. And it can be you participating in panels in the marketing concentration, or just in a day on fintech, where students explore and ask questions and try to understand the world that they navigate. So there are just so many ways. And those ways are critical. Thank you for that question.
Next question. While remote classes are very convenient for on-campus students who decide to stay in dorms instead of attending in person, is the plan to have everyone on campus attend in person when appropriate? As a parent, I think the in-person learning experience is far more effective and beneficial, and having a remote option after the pandemic will allow students to avoid in-person classes and opt for convenience.
Yeah, another great question. And my first gut is to react to this as a parent as well. And the parent of a son who definitely would opt for convenience at all times. So I get your point. We get your point. The big picture at the top is that we have to adhere to public health safety regulations and guidelines. So while we may aspire to have everyone here, even at this moment, we are restricted in how they can be here and how many of them can be here in terms of capacities. So we have that kind of constraint. That said, we have numerous communications that have been issued from all the way up at the top from the president. We are a residential academic institution. This is what we're all about. Our undergrad experience at the core is about students who leave their homes and learn and live in community as adults, independent perhaps for the first time. And that is a commitment we have. We benefit from having everyone around, from the students to the research enterprise and in the staff to the innovation and creativity that inspires our work. So from the president down, we have a commitment to get back to that. Now, there is a little bit of a chicken and egg right now. We have a lot of issues. Some students are very uncomfortable. Some of them are unable to come in for health reasons. Some of them are unable to come in because they're stuck perhaps in another country. So we have to allow the opportunity for choice at this time. Are we aspiring to change this? I couldn't agree more. And we too see the risks of convenience over the essential nature of what we are.
Great, thank you. Given your background in the branding space, could you talk to the reputational indicators that you prefer in assessing Questrom's growth and strengths?
Sure, thanks for that question too. So first and foremost, I would say that I love your question because it implies that there is a holistic landscape of metrics that indicate our reputation. And that is definitely, that is my approach. While we may aspire to have a silver bullet that just kind of captures it all, that doesn't exist. Some might argue that rankings are that bullet. I would say, well, yeah, and there's 15 rankings and they all measure things differently. And you can have a school that ranks literally in the top 20 and the top 50 somewhere else. So even within that world, it's a holistic picture. So the things that we are using a lot in our dashboards, relate to a lot of our core processes. What's the quality of the students that come in, right? These are all indicators of our growing brand. What's the percent of students that want to choose us as early decision? What is our selectivity in choosing students? There's a lot of metrics on the input side. There's a lot of metrics on the output side. What jobs are students getting? Are they getting the jobs they want? Are they making salaries that they should be making? Are they quality-wise? Are they touching companies along the way in their experience? This is to the internship kind of and project-centered question that was raised earlier. And then in between, how is our quality? What's the robustness of our co-curricular experience? How many alums are engaged? How fruitful are our events and our panels and our discussions and the pool of professionals that wants to be involved with us. That's just kind of on the academic side. There also are a lot of quality indicators on the faculty side. How are we hiring? What's our win-loss ratio? Do we get the people that we want? Do we keep the people that we want? Where are we getting people from? Who are we competing with? These are all very important metrics, as too is the one I mentioned to you in this presentation because it's near and dear to my heart. What about our research? We are an AAU A1 research university. We aren't just about the teaching. We are also about generating the knowledge through research that inspires that teaching. What's our picture? Do we have research that has impact? Research that matters, research that people read and use. So we have a host of dashboard items to try to get at our reputation by looking closely at the research output. Hopefully that helps.
Great. There are a few questions that touch on, I'll put them under the bucket or in the bucket of learning outcomes and rigor. And I'll ask specifically through one question. What considerations were made when deciding whether or not to limit number of class seats in Questrom during virtual learning? So where people can access classes remotely, you don't have the physical constraints of the classroom. So how can you share the conversation that happened on the academic side about how we maintained rigor and outcomes in face of the challenges that COVID presented?
Okay, and maybe make sure I get this question right, if you could, Dave. So one part of the question is, how did we limit seats?
Yeah, so I think the question is where there is, in a virtual world, really no limit to the number of people that can be in a room.
Oh, okay.
How did you decide to keep
Okay.
the class at 35 instead of allowing 350?
Because this is important to us. So I mentioned that we launched AMBA. AMBA is an online program at scale. When we pivoted because of COVID to learn from anywhere, we did not change our business model to be an online institutional provider of courses at scale. That is not what we did. So we have kept all of our courses. We could have done this. This would have been very cost efficient, but that's not what we're all about. We preserved every course and its enrollment. And then we opened up seats in the physical classroom that would cohere with the guidelines for the state as to how many people with 6-foot distancing you can fit in there. But we were never, and I don't even know that this became a question that we entertained. It was never an option to increase scale. We have no large scale lectures at Questrom, and we sure don't now. We don't put 300 people in a room and just lecture with slides at them. We engage them. And we are very proud of the kind of faculty student ratios for our courses in that regard.
Great. This combines some of the academic experience with the brand and reputation opportunity. Does Boston University Questrom School of Business write case studies like Harvard? And if not, have you thought about it?
Well, as a previous Harvard faculty member, I absolutely thought about it. I've written 40 or 50 cases myself in my day. And that was part of the business model, literally, of Harvard Business School. They make more money in cases than they do in tuition, okay? Now, will we ever have a business model where we are seeking that? No. It really, we've talked about it, it's just not what we're about. But more importantly, the world seems to be changing, and I'm not sure, honestly, how sustainable Harvard's model even is, as much as I love it. So a few points. A, we do write cases. We just had a part-time MBA case competition over the weekend. The corporation was Waters Corporation, biopharma, biotech, and the professor wrote that case. So we do it, but we're not going to turn it into an enterprise. The other thing that I'll note is the world is kind of moving away. Harvard cases, for those of you who know them, they're 20 pages, heavy lifts. They take minimum of 6 months. The infrastructure at Harvard to support writing cases, they probably have 90 full-time staffers that are, a lot of them PhD trained, that are supporters to help create cases. The world is moving away from having these 20-page kind of cases in the classroom. Knowledge moves faster than that. And knowledge needs, 5-page cases and the coverage of a broader scope of problems. So what we're finding is, video cases or discussion items, and there are a lot of other ways to bring, or, having a live case. We do this a lot of times. A company comes into the classroom, gives some background information, and off students go. So we are kind of evolving with the market, and I don't foresee us adopting this as a business model.
So we have time for one more question. Before I go to it, I want to encourage people to share some comments in the comment section on what they might like to hear in the future Conversations with the Dean series. As I said, March 23rd at 10 a.m., we'll have our next conversation with the Dean, where we'll do a deep dive into the online MBA. We do have 2 additional blocks set up through the end of the semester to speak with folks, but we want to hear from you on what you might be interested in learning about. So while interviews often start with a softball, Susan, I'll end it with a softball. It may actually I don't know that we knew it was coming, but submit it ahead of time. In your deanship, what do you find most enjoyable?
Oh, well, I guess one big thing for me is never a dull moment. Let me just say, it's enjoyable to have the support of a team. My leadership team is amazing. Our staff are amazing. Our faculty are amazing. And we have a hunger to go forward and grow. And there is nothing more enjoyable than that. That is just so tremendously wonderful. We have the support of the president in that vision and mission too. I also just enjoy, that. What I most enjoy is that we have continual momentum and progress. We can easily, and I've been in a couple of places where you can rest on your laurels and things are good, and continuous improvement in our genes is really what I really think I enjoy most.
Great, thank you. And for everyone in the room, we've included in the chat section some of the links that were highlighted today, not only Insights at BU, but the upcoming digital health event series, as well as an opportunity to join us on the BU network, on BU Connects and the Questrom network. So with that, we want to thank you for your time this morning, this afternoon, this evening. We can't wait to get back on the road and see you all again. But in the interim, if there's anything that I or we can be helpful with, please do not hesitate to reach out.
And
thank
then
you, everyone. Go ahead, Susan.
Dave, should we also ask people as they're exiting if they want to put any topics as they're exiting into where would you prefer, Q&A or chat? We would like to take a look at those for our future.
Yes, please. Yeah, in the chat section would be great. So
great, thanks.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.